Hello, World Tank Blitzers. It's Littlefinger. Happy Friday, February 10th. Time for another store review, and I apologize for missing you guys last week. Let's go ahead and make up for it right now. So, wanted to first talk about Operation Zhangju here. The tank is a Tier 6 Chinese light tank called Wind. And full disclosure here, Blitz has been providing me with the battle pass and the license the last couple of battle passes, and I haven't had to purchase that on my own, but for some reason this month that stopped. And as you can see, I went ahead and bought the battle pass. I was pretty interested to test out this tank, and one of the reasons was most of the battle pass tanks that we've had have been direct copies of other tier 6 tanks, but I didn't see anything that this was a direct copy of. And after playing it, after looking at it, I think the most similar tank to it is the tier 7 Type 62. Yes, it is a little bit smaller, but it's got that wonderful light tank movement, mobility. It's got good gun handling, and it has been quite a very fun tank to play. So let's jump into the store, and we'll just get it out of the way. We've got Bazinet C45 here, $100, 25 crates. I don't know anything about this tank, haven't even looked into anything about this tank, but we are just staying away from these tanks in crates this year. Another strange and expensive offer here for $40 is these lockbox. You're gonna get 20 lockboxes, and these things, you're typically about 3% drop chance for these tanks. So not a great chance to get one of the tanks, and it's quite expensive at $40 there. So again, stay away from lockboxes. We do have the AMX M4, the tier 10 French heavy tank. I am not a super huge fan of this tank, but I know some of you really do enjoy it. You know, it's got this huge side to it, makes me think of like a T1 M6. And that is just all soft, juicy, pennable area. The tank obviously does very well. Frontally, it's got some great frontal armor. I'm not a huge fan of it, and for $40, you know, if we're saying here that you spend, if you get your gold for 750 gold per dollar, that's 30,000 gold for this tank. So I still think that that is on the expensive side. Coming in at $35, what equates to 26,000 gold, is the T95E6. I much prefer this tank over the AMX there, because this tank has so much more mobility. I think the gun is a little bit more accurate, or at least it feels that way. And you've got a very good hold down, mobile, heavy tank that seems to be more versatile, in my opinion, than the AMX. Still, if you're looking at this as a conversion to gold at 26,000 gold, I still think the price is quite high. I would be very happy with it at 17,000 gold, but not much more than that. Golden resupply, these are just bad deals, guys. Try to stay away from it. We're looking for deals where we're getting 750 gold per dollar or better. All right, and this is where I switch gears and talk about lucky crates. The thing with the lucky crates is you are guaranteed to get a tank. So as you can see in the lucky 5, I think the Ram 2 here is the only tank that I don't have. And what happens with these crates, if you buy this one, you're going to guarantee yourself a tank, right? But if you draw a tank that you already have, you're going to get the next crate up. So let's say I opened the lucky 5, got a tank I already have, I would be compensated with a lucky 6 crate. So let's take a look here. Here are the tanks in it. As you can see, I have all of those tanks. So I would automatically get a lucky 7. And again, if we go through these tanks, I have all of those tanks, and there's some good ones in here. We've got Smasher, Gravedigger, Helsing, some fun tanks in that list there. You'd automatically get up to Lucky 8. Now, what I wanted to point out with Lucky 8, there's a few tanks here that are relatively new that I don't have, and you may not have either. We've got the G-Sor, the Caliban, we've got the T-77, and the Aston Rex. So they've added a few tanks in here. I am, after this store review, I'm going to buy the Lucky 5, $8. I'll put a separate video out. We'll see where it goes because I'm interested to see if anything's changed in the Lucky 9 or Lucky 10. The gold compensation for getting all the way through and picking a tank that you've already gotten every single time is pretty low. So don't count on a good conversion from dollars to gold in that respect. The heavily armored 38H. 7 days of premium, 1,000 gold here, and then we can sell this for $750. So $1,750 divided by $3, $583 per gold. You're going to get yourself 7 days of premium and the garage slot. So tier 2, typically we see these as tier 3 tanks. This does have a lot of armor. Not my favorite play style, but again, you know, we're not quite at the 750, 583 there, plus the garage slot if you wanted to go that route of purchasing and selling the tank immediately or playing it and then selling it a little bit later. We're going to talk about the tanks here in a little bit longer. But so anyway, $5 for the Battle Pass, $3 for the license. And while we're here, let me just clarify here with the license. So, you can't go back and complete missions without the license from previous weeks, and you only have one active week without the license. The license also allows you to replace a mission if you don't like it as well, which I can't do because I haven't purchased the license. So just a couple things there on that regard. Certainly not a fan of selling your hard-earned gold for silver. Silver is to be earned on the battlefield, guys. Go out there and win battles and get yourself some gold that way. So let's take a look here. I don't think this works out to be a great deal. 30 gold boosters if you win half your matches at tier 10. That's going to be 450. Add that to the 1,500. Divide it by $5. That's only 390 gold per dollar. And you have to win half your battles at tier 10. So let's stay away from all of these. They're trying to trick you a little bit here with throwing in the gold boosters and not being able to figure out what the real deal is. But for now, if you're going to buy gold in the store, buy just straight up gold. All right, so now let's talk about the smashing platoon here. 11,000 gold for 2 tier 8 French tanks. Lorraine 40T, a 40-ton heavy tank with a top speed of, I think, close to 60 kilometers per hour. Let me just check on that real quick. Yes, 60 kilometers per hour. 8 degrees of gun depression is nice. 9 up can be a problem at times. Shell in magazine 4, but 2.5 seconds between shells with a 20-second magazine reload time. So here's the problem I have with this tank. It is very difficult to find targets where you can be exposed and shooting for 7.5 seconds to get all 4 of those shots out. So what you typically, it happens to me more frequently than not, is I end up forcing that reload. I don't get all 4 shells off, and so then it becomes more of a 3-shell autoloader with that 20-second reload, dropping that damage per minute even more from the 1900. And what's good about the tank is that burst damage. So that 4 shells in the magazine there makes the tank a little bit trickier to play, in my opinion. But it's still fun because of its speed and size and weight when it comes to some of the games where you can get gravity mode and whatnot with ramming damage and stuff. So also with that, you've got the AMX M4, very similar to the Tier 10 tank, in my opinion, in the sense that this thing's got just frontal armor for days, face hugging, bullying, decent mobility, but then start showing your side and the tank becomes very pennable. Not bad for two tanks, 11,000 gold. If I had to pick one over the other, especially for the price, I'd go with the Lorraine just because it's a little bit of a different play style, and I'm not as intrigued by the heavy gameplay. Su-85 Tier 5 Soviet tank destroyer. We've got some extra things in this bundle which make it look kind of intriguing. 2,000 gold for a Tier 5. This is kind of borderline. This is just a camo container. You are going to get the 7 days of premium, so it's a good intro into getting one of maybe your first premium tanks or not. Wouldn't suggest it if it's your first, though. Certainly not one of the better Tier 5 premium tank destroyers. So let's see here. We've got the WZ-111. Only 3 days left for either $12 if you've bought your gold for 750 gold. You certainly want to go with the 5,500 here, as it is the better deal over the $12 bundle. You're going to get 30 days of premium time, 500,000 silver. And yeah, the 5X applies only to this tank. And as we've said before, pike nose, spaced armor, this tank, there's so many of them at Tier 8 that it's hard to recommend this over any of the others. So my guess is if you've got a collector or two, a premium or two at Tier 8, you might have one that's very similar to this. So hard to recommend unless you are just a true collector. We already talked about the T95E6. 3 days left on the T34-3 and the T44-100, two medium tanks. As I mentioned, I think it's the T34-1 is a tech tree tank. It's very similar to this. Basically, just your credit coefficient is going to be different, but it does sport a nice damaging 400 alpha gun. Only 5 degrees of gun depression and 50 kilometers per hour is your top speed, but the aim time is super juicy, 2.3 seconds without any equipment. I do love the aim time on these Chinese medium tanks with the big guns. T44-100 has just it's an okay medium tank at tier 8 Soviet tank. Again, there's a lot of tanks that play very similar to this there, so hard to recommend the bundle. T34-3 is fine if you don't already have the tech tree variant, but just keep those in mind. Only a few days left on them anyway. T95E2 is just not a tank that I like or recommend. It's hard to hide this top cupola, which is fairly easily pennable, which is kind of interesting because I don't find the hatch here on the T95 gets penned nearly as much. However, they are about the same size. Perhaps there's a good bit of difference there in the armor profiles. And here's what we're talking about: getting that 750 gold per dollar, right? $100. 75,000 gold. That is the way to get your gold, to be honest with you guys, and then come in here and convert that into some premium time, and then use that time to win battles and get yourself some silver. As we mentioned here, we've got the lucky containers. I will be purchasing the lucky 5 later on and doing a separate video on it, so hang tight. And that's going to wrap it up because the rest are containers that we're not going to buy. So with that, guys, have fun out there. Stay safe. Get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.